Welcome to the City Commission meeting for Monday, February 24th. If you would all rise, please. Mr. Rogers will be giving the invocation.
Let's bow, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for today, and we thank you for your love and your blessings. We thank you for all that you've done for us, Lord. And Father, this evening we just want to recognize and ask you for your blessings upon our first responders and our military and all of our government leaders, both nationally and locally. And so, Lord, tonight we recognize that anything that we do that's outside of your will is done for naught. And so, God, we're just asking for your presence here tonight. We're asking you to guide us tonight. We ask you for your wisdom and knowledge and courage to make the decisions that need to be made tonight for the citizens of Leesburg. And we thank you for that, Lord. And we look forward to seeing your presence working with us tonight. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. We have no proclamations tonight. We have no presentations tonight. Public comment. This section is reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail at this meeting. Issues will either be referred to the proper staff or will be scheduled for consideration at a future City Commission meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Is there anybody who would like to say anything? Going once? Okay. The consent agenda. Routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commission or staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. 1, pull the item from the consent agenda. 2, vote on remaining items with 1 roll call vote. And 3, discuss each pulled item and vote by roll call. Before we start, 5C3 is being pulled tonight and will be handled during the next meeting in March.
And pull 5C4, please, Madam Mayor.
5C4. Anybody else?
5C1.
Okay.
Move for all remaining items, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Okay, 5C1. Somebody like to introduce, please?
I introduce and recommend, but read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, approving a warranty deed in favor of Andre Graham to convey a vacant parcel for development of a single-family home as part of the infill housing program and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion?
I need to abstain. Homes in Partnership, which is the person requesting this, is a customer of ours.
Okay. Anybody else? Any discussion from the audience? Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Okay, 5C3.
4.
We pulled 5C3 to be on the next meeting. 5C4. Somebody like to introduce, please.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a land swap agreement between the Community Development Corporation, CDC, and the Child Advocacy Center, CAC, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion?
And I'm abstaining because of my role with the CDC.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm just excited to put this deal together. Thank you. Everybody knows this was important to me as part of the pool site.
It absolutely is. Any discussion from the audience? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Public hearings and non-routine items. 6A, please. Somebody like to introduce?
Introduced and asked to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 226.7 acres, being generally located east of County Road 48 and south of North Austin Merritt Road, lying in sections 5, 6, and 7, Township 21 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 3, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion. This is second reading. Nothing? Anything from the audience? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. 6C. Somebody like to introduce, please?
B.
B.
Oh, I thought we just did B. Okay, 6B.
Introduced and asked to be
I
read by
checked
title
too
only.
fast.
Yeah. An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan, future land use map designation, and text amendments for certain property containing approximately 1,237 acres from City of Leesburg neighborhood mixed use, industrial, and Lake County rural to age-restricted development for a property generally located south of the Florida Turnpike, a portion north of County Road 470, and east and west of County Road 48 in southwest Leesburg, as legally described in sections 5, 6, 7, and 31, Townships 20 and 21 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion? Dan, you had something out
Yes,
there?
ma'am, one comment. I meant to add to the agenda memo an item number 4 stating that the aerial map I-3 would reflect the location of areas A and B, and we would like the motion to reflect that that map is showing the differences between area A and B, because that takes care of an issue that the Department of Economic Opportunity had. They just wanted to be sure that the areas were clearly identified.
Make a motion to amend per the instructions of Dan Miller.
Second.
Thank you.
Fred, we okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we'll vote on the original and then go to the amendment.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. The amendment, please.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Okay, 6C, would somebody like to introduce, please?
I introduce and recommend read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, rezoning approximately 1,237 plus minus acres from City of Leesburg PUD Planned Unit Development, CIP Commercial Industrial Plan, and Lake County A Agriculture to ARD Age Restricted Development to allow for a mixed-use community for property generally located south of the Florida Turnpike, a portion north of County Road 470, and east and west of County Road 48 in southwest Leesburg, as legally described in sections 5, 6, 7, and 31, Townships 20 and 21 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Somebody like to move for approval?
Move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Excuse me. 6D, would somebody like to introduce, please?
Introduced and asked to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, to modify the Chapter 163 Development Agreement between the City of Leesburg and the villages of Westlake Area A for development of approximately 1,382.301 acres, providing a binding agreement for long-term development including but not limited to density, intensity, land uses and processes, approving development rights and land development regulations for property generally located near Florida's Turnpike, the Lake County and Sumter County line, and north of County Road 470, as legally described in sections 6, 7, 8, 9, and 16, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. 6E, would somebody like to introduce, please?
Introduced and asked to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, to establish a development agreement between the City of Leesburg and the villages of Westlake Area B for a development of approximately 1,230.97 acres, providing a binding agreement for long-term development, approving development rights and land development regulations for property generally located east of the Lake County and Sumter County line, north and south of the intersection of County Road 48 and North Austin Merritt Road in southwest Leesburg, as legally described in Section 31, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, and Sections 5, 6, and 7, Township 21 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Approval?
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion?
Guess my drive to Grove is gonna be a little longer.
It is. This is, in case
You're
you
gonna
were
have
wondering
more
what this all
parishioners.
is, it's annexation of the villages, so the property. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Okay, what was that, E or F?
That was E.
Okay. I'm behind one now. Okay. 6F, would somebody like to introduce, please?
Introduced and asked to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending and restating ordinance number 2018-2 as amended by 2018-5, providing a short title, providing findings and intent, granting certain non-exclusive franchises to Tri-County Sanitation LLC, South Sumter Utility Company LLC, and Southeast Wildwood Water Conservation Authority LLC, their successors and assigns, parentheses, each a franchise and sometimes collectively referred to herein as the franchises, in parentheses, a franchise for a period of 30 years to construct, own, operate, and maintain certain services and facilities to serve areas within and adjacent to the village's age-restricted development, setting forth the terms and conditions under which such franchises shall operate, providing for conflict and severability, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion?
So Alan, this is basically when it comes to like solid waste, we're gonna just pretty much allow the villages to operate in their territory.
Yeah, and we've previously agreed to this, not formally. We did through a different agreement, but essentially all the services, water, wastewater, solid waste. I think we got some reuse issues in there too. The South Sumter Utility Company would do that, and then we are granting them the franchise. In return, we get 5% of the gross revenue.
Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, my name is Julian Layton. I'm the owner of Zellwood Fruit Distributors that has 103 acres within 1,000 feet of this village's B. My question is concerning the franchise given by the city to this. I would ask that since our property is closer to there than it is to the city of Leesburg, that consideration be given that they should service other property owners in the immediate area. Thank you.
Want to handle that?
Yeah, I think that's probably something the commission wants to handle at another time.
It's actually a very good question.
I think it's probably something you still want to
No,
deal with at another time. I think a lot of that's going to depend on what the future of the villages looks like, what the future of Leesburg looks like. And so I think we just make that determination then. We do have some services out in that area. I think we can probably service that but it's something we just have to, I think, in the future decide. I don't think he would want that solution now because there is no Villages services out there. I'm assuming you're incorporated, right, on your property. You're in the city.
The city of Leesburg.
Yep. So that's something that just I think we need to look at as growth start. We do.
We service them now.
Yeah. I don't think he'd be happy with Villages services there now. No offense to our folks from the Villages who are in the audience. But that's something that we just need to look at as the growth pattern develops. And ultimately, it might even be a Villages property in the future. So it's something we just need to look at in the future.
Sir, could you leave your phone number this evening with our city clerk? Thank you.
So do we have a lot of those kind of situations out there, or just kind of?
I'm going to say for the most part, they're not frequent. The way the Villages looks to be developing in that corridor, it's between the 470 property and the property we annexed. Most of the areas that we have service probably don't have service now, and then will ultimately be Villages services. So that's why I think that the franchise agreement's good. And then it provides a step for development. So the few residents that are incorporated that are outside these development areas that the Villages is putting or we're putting the ARD on, I just think they're probably slim and not frequent. So to grant over that service to them like immediately and as part of the process, that's probably, they wouldn't want that because those services from the Villages aren't even out there. So I think, again, I keep saying the same thing, but it's just something we need to keep an eye on in the future. I think as they develop and the Villages of Westlake moves up and growth hits that 470 Turnpike corridor, those are questions we need to look at in the future. It might be the best solution.
So I guess I'm thinking we said 30 years, so in the 31st year, probably not like water reuse, but for solid waste. So we're saying, because our solid waste here makes a little money for the city. So we looked at it from a standpoint, we do solid waste, we buy a few more trucks, service the Villages. Economically, you feel this is the best way, just give us 5% of what's going on. I'm talking about the solid waste, not the water or reuse, but for solid waste. In the 31st year, the city of Leesburg says, I want to take over solid waste in that community. It's not going to be a political fight for us to simply say we want to buy 15 garbage trucks, so we think we can make money doing it this way.
I mean, the short answer to that is yes. You want the short answer?
Yeah, short answer.
Yes, I think that this is the best plan for the city.
Okay.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. 6G. Somebody like to introduce, please?
Introduced and asked to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 2.13 acres, being generally located south of Florida's Turnpike and west of U.S. Highway 27, lying in Section 7, Township 21 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 3, and providing an effective date.
Approval?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? For those of you in the audience, this is the surgery center which is being discussed across from the South Lake Medical Facility, just south of the Turnpike. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. 6H. Would somebody like to introduce, please?
I introduce and recommend read by title only.
An ordinance amending the comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the future land use designation of certain property containing approximately 2.13 acres from Lake County urban low density to City of Leesburg general commercial for property generally located south of Florida's Turnpike and west of U.S. Highway 27, as legally described in Section 7, Township 21 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Approval?
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Dennison.
Yes. 6I.
Introduced and asked to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, rezoning approximately 2.13 acres from Lake County A Agricultural District to City Spud Small Planned Unit Development for property generally located south of Florida's Turnpike and west of U.S. Highway 27, as legally described in Section 7, Township 21 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Approval?
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Mayor Dennison.
Yes. 6J. Would somebody introduce, please?
Introduced and asked to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, correcting a scrivener's error by amending the language in Section 1 of Ordinance 19-38 from allow industrial uses to allow residential uses, which said ordinance did rezone certain real property consisting of approximately 51.97 plus minus acres from PUD planned unit development to PUD planned unit development for a property generally located east of U.S. Highway 27 and south of County Road 48 as legally described in Sections 13 and 14, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Approval?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Mayor Dennison.
Yes. 6K. Would somebody introduce, please?
Introduced and asked to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending the zoning on approximately 18.87 plus minus acres to allow for 50 single-family residential lots in a PUD planned unit development zoning for property generally located east of U.S. Highway 441 and south of Park Holland Road as legally described in Section 14, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Anybody approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Christian,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Dennison.
Yes. 6L. First reading.
Introduced and asked to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, calling for a referendum election to be held on November 3, 2020, for the purpose of proposing to the electorate amendments to Article 1, Section 8 and 9 of the City Charter to create 5 single-member districts for the City Commission in lieu of the current 3 single-member districts and 2 at-large seats, providing the wording of the question to be placed on the ballot, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing a savings clause, and providing an effective date for both this ordinance and the amendments to the City Charter if approved by the electorate.
Approval? I know it's first reading, so we can get to discussion. Any discussion?
I mean, I'm not in favor of it. The more I thought about it, I think that our current setup, where we have the 3 districts, and so we have 3 commissioners who are generally very focused on their district, but with 2 at-large who kind of aren't, who just focus on one district, I think works well. And I know there's concern about, with the village's growth and did that somehow take over the city. But when I go back and you look at the voting patterns now, I mean, Legacy Arlington Ridge could have both at-large and their seat right now when you look at voting. I mean, they would win all 3 of those seats if they wanted to vote as a block. But they don't, right? I mean, because we have the mayor, who I think is very responsive in her district, there's not this upwelling that we want to take over the city of Leesburg. And I think that the at-large provides value. I think you're going to have qualified people just because someone lives in a retirement community, whether it's the Villages or any other one. I don't think is necessarily a bad thing if they're qualified and people want to vote for them. So I just think we have a good thing going with the blend. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
I'm concerned, and I think we look at what happened in Sumter County with one Sumter. I think what ends up happening, as Dan has mentioned, if even what's going on right now at US 27, if a group of people just decide, I don't like the fact that, as the gentleman said, you got a franchise, somebody's service in my area, and it may be something as small as the Arlington Ridge issue with the smokestack, and then you get just 2 people to say I want to run. So you can basically have 3 people from District 3 area simply get on the city council and decide that I don't think downtown is that important anymore. I think we should have more water lines on 27. I think, in fact, we got a water shortage, and I think these concerns are more important than CRA, Carver Heights, or the mall. Why have a mall when I just got a $100,000 shopping center on 407 that's company? Why would we give $500,000 to a mall on 441? So I think even with 5 districts, I even think of the cost. If I'm running a District 3 race and all the annexation, that would be an enormous cost to mail out, even if 5,000 more people added to District 3. God forbid you had to try to knock on 10,000 doors when I'm having to knock on 1,500 doors. So I do agree we will probably get more qualified candidates, but I think it don't take one issue to get Legacy, Arlington Ridge, or the villages in 5-10 years to say, I want to run for city council and I want to have a stronger voice when what happened in Leesburg. So, I got friends in Sumter County and poor Webster, poor Bushnell. In fact, I think the county commission even moved their meetings over to the villages. And poor Wildwood, their meetings are in the morning and afternoons because villagers said we don't want to have afternoon meetings in Wildwood. So, of course, it may not happen tomorrow, but I think in the future, I think every part of our city should be represented, and right now to have 3 votes on the 27th side, I think for me is real scary.
Okay, anybody else? The reason that I had requested that we make a change to the city charter is, as you heard tonight, just about all the annexation and expansion is going on in District 3, which is my district. I don't believe that having representatives from this district, having this district dissolved up to 3. I heard this argument when I was running that you're not going to care a thing about the city. I think I've disproved that over and over and over again. The talk about District 3, we've got the villages, we've got the expansion going on south of the Turnpike, we've got all these communities being built. 1, it's a lot for one person to handle, and 2, I think the representation would prevent somebody from taking over, exactly as Commissioner Christian mentioned. So I'm not naming names, but I'm telling you that this is something we seriously have to look at in this city, because it happened at Fruitland Park, it happened at Sumter County, where one individual group of people have taken over the commission. So this is to prevent anybody from taking over the commission. That's all I have to say about this. This will hold off till our next meeting.
Would you mind if I just have one question for Fred, because I don't know how this works. With the districts, so even with our current ones, do they get reallocated at census time or redrawn?
They will be redrawn at census time according to changes in population. Given the current projected development of the villages, it is highly likely that the next reapportionment won't even take that into account, because that'll be a census this year and there's nobody out there yet.
Yeah.
So it'll be 10 years down the road before that district gets reallocated, which means the scenario that Commissioner Christian mentioned is quite possible.
But it would, so how, and I guess this is just, so say this gets on the ballot and gets approved. How are they going to draw the 5 districts based off the 2020 census?
They'll have to. That's the only data you have.
Right. So it won't actually get corrected then until 2030.
No, but there'll be one commissioner there and no chance to pick up other seats.
Right. Got it. But they're all still going to be in your district, Mayor, just for a few years.
I'm out this year.
That's true.
What would you draw them on? The line be on vacant land, Fred?
That's up to the statisticians on
Okay.
how they do that.
Okay.
they try to put as much as possible an equal number in each district and maintain certain representation in various areas.
So in 2030, there's going to be basically 2 districts in the villages based on probably the current growth.
Possibly,
would
yeah.
probably, if they actually have 20,000 residents out there or whatever.
I don't quite think so.
15,000,
And I
so
think
yeah.
there's probably maybe a couple of other angles in there. I think what the purpose of this ordinance, and correct me if I'm wrong, Fred, but I think the purpose of this ordinance is that if there is and please note my word choices, if there is the concern of a specific interest group that would take over the city, then I understand the need and the want to have 5 separate select districts. So you go through the process. So the first option would be put the ordinance in place now. We start redrawing lines should the referendum pass, and they would be drawn on the 2020 lines, which probably will look pretty similar, maybe a little difference in when the 2020 comes out, because with growth out a little bit west, but most of it being south. I can see a little bit of changes to those districts. But then if the village is on that projection, say 25, 26, you're going to have some significant growth in the south side. We could call, I think, a special census.
Yes.
And then redraw the
Okay,
lines.
that's how
so
it'd
you
be
could
done.
do it before 2030. My suggestion would be is to wait and let those forces push you into that. And it could be that 2030 comes around and there is growth in there, and you don't really have any pushback, and so you keep going with the seats that you may carve out next year, or being 2021. So there's a lot of different scenarios out there. I think this just sets you up to handle it in the future. But as far as the 20,000 number, that's the thing that we got to keep in mind. And I think a lot of these things go into the decision matrix when we work with the villages on certain projects. Most of this growth is still Sumter County. So when we've talked 20,000 or 50,000 units, most of that is still Sumter. So the villages growth that you're going to be dealing with that's going to affect your district count is Villages of Westlake, aka the 470 property, which is about 3,000 units. You've got Renaissance Trails down there now. How many? That's 1,200 acres is what we just brought in. So maybe that's another 3,000. But there's a lot of, the village is partner too. So you got to go back to that, coming down the Carters, hit go back, and then work back. And so you're still 23, 22, which is around the corner. Mm-hmm. But I don't think those I wouldn't see those 20,000, 15,000 numbers really going to change Leesburg politics immediately. And it depends on where the villages goes in Lake. So, and then I think too, if we're counting on the villages the way we're counting on it, which is that big economic development engine, then I think you're going to see growth out Sunnyside Way, and you're going to see growth out Radio Road 44 corridor out Silver Lake Way. So then I think there's really the chance to balance all that out, and we look like we look now. So
I don't know. I guess I just look at Leesburg politics. We have commissioners who run unopposed. Nobody challenges. Then you run into the apathy of, is it important until you get someone on here who simply say, let's just do a renegade thing. And then I don't want to get us, because I think it's harder to try to do this when you got 3,000 new residents saying, why y'all doing this? Why are you trying to take out, what's wrong with now? So, to me, I just think a new commission, we got 2 new seats coming. Dan and I are going to go in 3 years. So you get 4 new commissioners who are not paying attention. Then you're like the city of Wildwood, who got from $1 million ad valorem taxes to $56 million ad valorem taxes. So now you're trying to decide how to spend it. So now I got 4 commissioners who are saying, why spend over here when all the growth and the economic engine is going this way? If I'm a commissioner and I'm saying this is where the growth is going, I may care about happening downtown, but if I put $10 million on 27, open up a $100 million project, I'm probably going to want to go 27. So for me, it's simply for the future of Leesburg. I want to make sure that Sunnyside has a vote to say, hey, Sleepy Hollow is still pretty important. I want the person on District 3 to say, hey, 27 is important. So I think that's where the balance comes. But to have 3 commissioners who could be from any area, whether District 1 area or District 3 area, just alarm for me, especially when we are at a point now where growth is going to come and we're going to have economic development, and we're going to try to decide what makes Leesburg the city it is, and not because I have a church in Wildwood. Of course, I can tell you the complaints that I hear from, I'm voiceless, nobody listens, nothing's happening across the tracks. So I hear that, that's my concern, that we don't have a commission that our residents feel that we're voiceless. So I'm all on board, but I think we need to do something now rather than later. So.
And I'll just say I do support the ordinance.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Informational reports. We have none. City attorney items.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
City manager.
I think everybody's pretty much in agreement with this, so I'll give you the 50,000 level debrief. Pardon the aviation pun. But in any case, the commission has talked a lot about making sure that we get our airport rates up to kind of more of a market level. Tracy and the Airport Advisory Board have been working on that for some time. And actually the way that the city ordinances work is you give the city manager the authority to set those rates. So this is more an informational item, and we'll go ahead and get that started, pending you all saying no. But essentially our rates run right now from about $275 a month to about $308 a month. Our recommendation is going to be to go to a range between $295 to $357 a month, depending on size. And Tracy did a pretty analytical spreadsheet. And this was also the recommendation of the advisory board. And then set the new rate for the new T hangars at $510 a month. There's some square footage numbers in there. We did some comparisons of some other airports in there, and that puts us about the middle of the pack, and we're still competitive. So pending the commission not approving that or having more question, I'll work with Tracy to go ahead and inform the tenants and all that. I think we can get the rate increase in effect by May 1. The other thing that we wanted to do in there is deal with a modification to the waiting list. Right now, I think there was about 118 people on the waiting list, and that waiting list takes a lot of work to maintain because Tracy receives calls on it monthly, and it takes some time to move the people through the waiting list. So we were gonna do a little bit of a pilot program here and kind of ferret out those who are really interested and those who don't and who aren't interested by requiring the $250 deposit up front to be on the waiting list. That way we think we're still going to have an ample waiting list to turn to. I don't think we have any concern that we're going to lose potential renters, but it will save Tracy quite a bit of work on answering and returning calls on a waiting list that doesn't have a lot of movement. So pending any objection from you, I'll get with Tracy, and I think we're on a schedule to where we can do this administratively and get it all approved by May 1, or started by May 1.
Very good.
I had a couple questions though. I remember reading that I think there was some sort of auto increases talked about. Did those get into the policy on the rent, like where every year, every other year, there's a CPI adjustment?
I think we talked about that, but I don't think we ever put that in. And if you want to add a CPI adjustment at this level, we can certainly hit that in the budget process.
Yeah, I mean, I want a CPI adjustment because otherwise, I think it'll happen like it did last time. We're 20 years and people just gonna forget about this thing.
2010 was our last increase.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I'm even okay with maybe like every other year, but kind of similar to other leases we have with the city would be good. And then it was. Oh, I think the deposit maybe should be based on the first month's rent, so like it should be more for the new hangars.
If everybody wants that to be reflective, I would recommend just keeping it at the 250 level. We don't have a lot of issue with
I'm okay with trying it, but if the wait list still stays too long.
I would recommend let's incrementally hit it on this one.
And when I say too long, I mean that should be judged by when something comes up, how many people she's having to go through who then back out. Because that's what kind of bothers me. That's kind of a waste of time.
And I guess for me too, so I had 118 on the waiting list.
About that.
So if 118, if say 100 people give us $250, we're going to put that in an account, and we're just going to hold their money for like how long before they say, hey, I want my money back? Will that become more of a accounting headache nightmare than just And I'm just asking for a staff, because I mean, you get 100 people, so here's $250 to them in a wait list. You know, how often does it move? I mean, are we gonna have this money for 5 years, or?
I think it all depends, but as far as an administrative process, it's not an issue for
It's not as office. Okay. If you good with it.
I'm good with it. Tracy's good with it. Airport board is saying, please
don't
do
spend
it.
the deposit money.
I'd say it's nice to see the airport board take such an active role in like pushing for changes out there and stuff. That's something I don't think we'd seen until maybe last year or two.
Yeah.
So
And I was complaining, but at least they're doing something positive, proactive.
Yeah,
Instead of complaining.
good to see.
I think that was a compliment, airport board. Roll call, please.
Mr. Peterson?
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Roebuck?
So I think Mardi Gras went very well, raised a lot of money for the partnership, so that was good to see. And then I would just add that, well, we have a bunch of events coming up that I'm sure John's going to talk about, so I'll let him go through those. But I will mention that the Taste of Lake for the Chamber is March the 10th. That's a Tuesday. It'll be 5:30 at the Venetian Center.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes, as Commissioner Roebuck, Friday night is the Black Heritage Gala. It'll be at Morrison United Methodist. Saturday, March 7th will be the Black Heritage Festival. Will be on the grounds of the Resource Center this year, because I see the manager is tearing up the Pine Street property for our new swimming pool. So we did have to move the location. We do invite everyone to come out, and there will be a gospel concert that Sunday at the Christian Worship Center. So you all are welcome to come, and there'll be a lot of food and entertainment. So it'll be a nice Saturday to come out, just enjoy the community and see Mount Clair. Hopefully our next growth area, right? So and Mardi Gras was a great event. We did have our downtown master plan meeting. So there are some great plans. I think it's on the partnership website of some of the ideas and concepts. So look forward to seeing Leesburg change for the better.
Yeah, on that note too, we'll have Blake Drury at the meeting on the 9th to give you the report on the downtown master plan.
That's all I have.
Mayor Dennison?
Nothing tonight. Move for adjournment.
For adjournment.
Thank you.
And I need